look at issues facing our public schools as viewed by the next generation of education leaders. This morning on For the Record. Good morning, I'm Neil Heinen. It's one thing for school district administrators, state education leaders, politicians, and taxpayers to consider the state of education policy and debate these days. It's another for those who aspire to be leaders in our schools. How would you go about preparing yourself to work in this field, in this environment? Why would you consider it? Once again this year, we are visited by the Edgewood College Educational Doctorate Degree class for a day here at WISC-TV, and I take advantage of that visit to talk about these issues. And welcome to For the Record, Edgewood Adjunct Professor and Attorney Melina Piantek, and the Director of Curriculum for Public Baraboo Schools, Lori Miller, and Principal of Sherman Middle School, Michael Hernandez. Michael and Lori being students in the class. Welcome very much, all of you.
Thank you.
So we do this every year, but it would be helpful, Melina, if you would again explain to our viewers about this class, about this program in educational leadership.
Certainly, and thank you for the opportunity. This program really trains people who are dedicated to public education to be leaders in their schools. Many of them are already in leadership positions as principals, directors of curriculum and instruction, but they aspire to do more for their schools, perhaps as a district administrator or a superintendent. So the practical experience they get in this program is exposure not only to hot legal issues, common legal issues, how to handle those issues with the media and marketing their school district, but also how to promote their school districts and their schools.
One of the things that is unique about this course, I think, is the cohort nature of it, that the groups go through these classes and help each other.
That's absolutely correct. As we were talking today, even though we're not near the end of the cohort yet, people are already saying how much they miss each other when they don't have a class and how much they're going to miss the constant contact that this course and this cohort type of structure gives them.
Yeah, I joked about it a little bit, Lori, but why would anybody pursue this at this time? It's a serious decision. Why would you decide to pursue education leadership?
I think in the state of Wisconsin right now, we need strong leaders more now than ever. There's some really tough strategies that our districts are struggling with, and ultimately we do our work because we want to do what's best for kids. And if we don't have strong leadership in roles leading our schools, I worry about the future for our students.
What were you looking for out of the course of study at Edgewood, and what are you getting from it?
Edgewood was a choice for me because of the practitioner approach, because I am an administrator already, right. Seeking administration for superintendency. And I wanted to be involved in coursework that would give me tools, strategies moving forward, applicable to some situations that I might deal with in the future.
Yeah, what do you mean by practitioner approach?
As we do coursework or projects, the projects are directly used in our everyday work. For example, one of the projects we're working on for this class right now is a media plan. And for our district, we just went through a district strategic planning process, and my media plan will be developing a rollout to share with our community and stakeholders what that district strategic plan is. So it's directly usable in our everyday work.
To what degree, Michael, does the current environment around public education affect your thinking about going through this class and what you're going to pursue when you're done with it, if at all? Am I overplaying it?
I don't think you're overplaying it. I think that we are in education right now to help the children in front of us. One of the biggest things on my mind is the achievement gap or the opportunity gap. Yep. I wanted to get into this program so I could learn more about what other districts are doing, as well as to increase my ability or my capacity to be a better leader. I think that through the Edgewood program, I've had opportunities to talk with people and open my mind. I've loved the fact that I've become friends with people that I trust, that I have no problems emailing or asking questions that are keeping me up at night. The other opportunity is that I can show my children that I'm never done with school, that I want to be a lifelong learner.
I want you to talk about that a little bit too, Lori. This idea of the value of these kinds of relationships when you're confronted with the politics and the noise around public education. That seems like it could be really difficult to deal with.
Right. I believe that administration can be viewed as isolating.
Yeah.
You know, you're becoming a leader, and you only have a certain number of people in your network or support circle that you can really go to with some of those tough issues. And what's important for us in this cohort is that we have developed a strong bond. I feel like I have brothers and sisters in this class that moving forward for years to come, I'll be able to reach out to if I'm struggling. And likewise, they can reach out to us as well. And, you know, I think it might pay forward, too, as we maybe might end up working together in the same district. And we've already got that team approach to solving those issues.
Well, even before that, how much similarity is there between what you're dealing with in Baraboo and what Michael's dealing with here in Madison?
I think we have similar issues, yet, you know, Baraboo is a rural school district in comparison to Madison Metro.
Right.
But the larger issues that are really impacting opportunity gaps for students, I think, are parallel across districts.
I would think that even if it's somewhat slower to diversify racially, that economically
Very much so.
you know, poverty is a challenge across districts right now, right?
Right. In our district, we are about 48% free and reduced across the whole district. Some of our elementary schools serve 70+% free and reduced.
So
I'm sure it's not too atypical.
No. Yeah. So as a faculty, how do you promote those between a Baraboo and a Madison, between the different districts that are there, in sharing the kinds of issues that are so important to everybody in public education today?
Well, it's my aspiration that when I'm working with the cohort that I can give them challenging issues that we can dissect in class that involve this intersection of law, media, and marketing. And we can have an open, trusting conversation and really learn from each other and talk about how this might play out in a rural school district versus an urban school district, identify the commonalities, and being a school law attorney, hoping to impart on all of them, what to remember about certain laws and to keep that in mind so they don't make missteps. But really, it's just this collaborative discussion about issues that transcends rural, urban, geographical areas. We're all in this together.
When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about Common Core and curriculum and get your perspective on that. We'll do it right after this. I'm back, and we are talking about state education issues with students from the Edgewood College Educational Doctorate Degree class, looking at current issues in education. And with me is Adjunct Professor Melina Piontek, who's an attorney and teaches in the media and law section of this class. And Lori Miller, who is the Director of Curriculum for Baraboo Schools and Principal at Sherman Middle School, Michael Hernandez. And Michael and Lori, I don't want to portray this as necessarily the luxury of being able to look at these issues from a slightly different perspective in the classroom, but nevertheless, it is a different perspective. So when we talk about, for example, Common Core and the debate over Common Core, which can appear so divisive at times, from the perspective of the class, as you're having your conversations with your cohort, how would you reframe that conversation? How do you view that conversation?
The conversations we've been having as a cohort, I believe that we all feel that the Common Core state standards brings a whole new level of rigor to what we've been doing with our classroom instruction than we have with the Wisconsin model academic standards that we've lived with for a number of years. We see the Common Core state standards as preparing our students to be globally competitive, and that's something we value in order for our students to have the best opportunities moving forward.
I'd agree, but as we're sitting down and we're talking with across the state teachers and administrators, we have common language. and then we can problem solve as well. As if we're seeing something successful somewhere else. In education, we often find ourselves in the past, and hopefully not in the future, we protect it, we don't share it, we don't celebrate it. With the Common Core, it's not telling you how to do it. It's just going, this is the path that we need to go. And we always need to go a certain way. And this way is, we all have the luxury of being able to integrate it in across core curriculum. We have the ability to be able to be as creative as possible, as long as you're hitting certain standards. And then you're finding that, and that's the beautiful part of being able to personalize it, is you're able to engage. I've gotten ideas talking to other administrators in this cohort and in this district throughout the state about things that they're doing in class, and then I can bring it back to my teachers, and we have some common language going on.
Yeah.
We haven't had that in the past.
No, I mean, you're both in leadership positions now, so to some degree you're dealing with these already. And so maybe it's a little hypothetical, but is it of some value to think from the next position up, whether it's a principal's job or a superintendent's job? Do you need to think about these issues differently than you're thinking about them now, Michael?
I'm concerned if the fact that we decide that we're not going to go down this path. We've put a lot of man hours. Funding is tight right now. If we decide we're not going to go down the Common Core path, if this is what we're not going to do, then what?
Yeah.
Or is it going to be a free-for-all again? I have those concerns. When we sit down, though, if we look at Indiana, all they did is change the name, put in a state's name and it cost thousands and thousands of dollars, wasted taxpayers' dollars. I believe, regardless if Mr. Walker decides to go off this or not, we're still going to be able to teach, more than likely using the Common Core. They rebrand it, and we'll still be able to do the job.
Yeah.
I would echo what Mike is saying. In my current role, I've spent a number of years.
Director of Curriculum, clearly.
Right.
Yep, right.
Approximately 4 years we've been working on defining our internal instruction in alignment to the Common Core state standards. That's been a process, like Mike says, take a lot of manpower, a lot of hours, a lot of resources, and also changing mindsets of staff to deliver that different level of rigor. As a superintendent,
Which you will be in July.
In July,
Yep.
right? Moving forward, our school board took a stand with the Common Core state standards. They adopted their own resolution that the Baraboo School District will be adopting the Common Core state standards. And I think that was important for our teaching staff, so that they can carry on with the work that they've already been engaged in for the past few years, and really that is going to benefit the students.
You know, Neil, if I could, I just want to say that Michael had mentioned the common language, and that's important not only for leaders in education, but for parents too.
Right.
We're a very mobile society. We're mobile within a school district. We're mobile between school districts. We have open enrollment. We have choices. And for parents, having that common language and standards that are rigorous in every school and every school district is something that I think doesn't get enough attention, and it's vitally important to our kids and to our future as a society.
Yeah, I worry sometimes that we emphasize divisions in our society so much, and sometimes I fear they really show up in the schools. I mean, and dealing with parents must be a constant challenge that you have to be good at.
Well, I think that I've been fortunate enough to be on the north side, in which I've been there 8 years, and I've developed a great relationship with the majority of my community. And that trust has been able to help us make some really good moves.
Are people talking to each other, Mike?
People do talk with each other.
Yeah.
We've been able to we've put a true focus, not just on the academic component, but also the neighborhood feel. I mean, Sherman Middle School is not a neighborhood school, but it's treated and it feels like a neighborhood school where everybody is welcomed. I think that is the challenge when we get into a more of an urban setting. I mean, that's just as equally important as the Common Core or common language, is trust.
Actually, I've written a little bit lately, Lori, about sort of the divisions in this state, and they're different in more rural areas than they are in urban areas. Are you getting parents to talk to each other in Baraboo?
Regarding the Common Core state standards,
Yeah, around
or
school issues, around you know, is there a public for public schools? As the title of the book went.
you know, that's something that's part of our district strategic plan, is how do we better engage all of our stakeholders, and part of it is telling our own story that I don't think as schools in general we're not very good at telling our own successes. So as we move forward with our strategic plan, that's really an area where we want to have specific actions moving forward. Our parents will come to us through, you know, board meetings and share their opinions through public commentary. Parents come to us through parent-teacher conferences, open houses. Doors are open for principals. You know, one of a significant change in our district over the past few years is changing grading practices, which strikes an emotional chord for parents because it's strikingly different than what we were all used to as students ourselves. So having an open door for those parents to come in and really educate them about why this is good for students, why it's good for instruction. But it's something we need to get better at, engaging those stakeholders.
Yeah. I'd like to talk about teachers, and we're going to do that when we come back, right after this. You guys- We are back with two students and a professor from Edgewood College's Educational Doctorate Degree program. We're talking about current issues in public education. And I want to talk about teachers. I mean, again, you both had experience here, but now this is a different level. And the idea that that teachers are feeling under siege these days. We've turned public education into a political football, and this is serious stuff. I mean, we're talking about morale and work environment and how people feel coming to work. How can we start to change the paradigm, Lori? How people look at teachers and how we support teachers? I mean, you've got an important role to play in that.
Right. Very concerned about that morale of our teachers. They work hard, they work endless hours, and a lot of the work that they do and the care that they show every minute, every day for our students isn't always visible. I think it's important moving forward that we give teachers voice within the context that they do have control or local control over what's occurring with their profession. We talk in our district about giving teachers the opportunities to collaborate around decision making and having a collaborative engagement process. I think that does help, and I think it's important too to continue to grow our teachers through professional development, ongoing professional development opportunities, instructional coaching, through the new state educator effectiveness system, really growing our teachers to be the best they can be, because in the end it's going to benefit our students. And if we have a better morale with our teachers, that's going to be better for our students.
Yeah. Do you see it, Mike?
Yeah. With teachers, and we often reflect back when we went to school. Right. And so when we're making judgments, you know, and people out in the community making judgments about teachers, they're often thinking about when they were in 6th grade. This is the way it was done, and this is the way it should be done. And we forget that there are so many other variables playing right now. Lori said earlier in the show that we often, sometimes one of our weaknesses, we don't celebrate. And because as true student-centered professionals, once we solve a problem, we want to jump to the next because we want to help. I think that part of how we can help our teachers is celebrating some of the positives that are going on and possibly slowing down. And I know we don't want to hear that about slowing down, but it's almost that thing of slowing down to go fast. Sure. But touching in with the educator effectiveness, and I know that's been very overwhelming for some teachers. The true sense of it is that reflection piece, being able to go back and think about what you were doing and how you did it, and did it work, and what can I do differently to make it work better, and then getting the feedback from both the supervisor, whether it's myself or an administrator, but the kids. Those conversations go on, and then those conversations go home. And then we often have to remember that our teachers are not just educators. They're social workers, they're parents, they're, nurses.
Oh, we expect so much of them.
Yeah.
And we forget about that. I mean, during the waking hours, some of our educators are with the kids more than they are at home. And we forget that as well. You know, I've been fortunate to be work with some outstanding teachers, but I see this year has been very hard. So that's obviously a concern that I think we all share.
What are we missing in this conversation, Michael? I guess I often think that if people would actually get into the schools and see what goes on there, and so many people don't. You know, there's a lot of taxpayers, probably even a lot of parents that don't get into the schools to see what's going on there. But what is this conversation lacking when we put so much focus on issues like voucher schools and Common Core and the politics of it?
You know, I've thought about that question. I want to be careful not to judge because I'm not walking in those shoes. It's easy for me to say get into the schools because I work in a school.
Right.
I'm not worried about paying somebody else's mortgage.
Right.
But
it's easy for me to say too because I'm not a principal of the school.
Exactly. But I do know that when people have come to me and asked what can they do, what can they give to the school, my response is always, and I mean you can ask any parent or any community organizations, I don't want materials and I don't want money, I want time. I want people to come in to be able to sit down and listen to children read. I want people to come in and interact and be those positive role models, whatever they might be. That open door approach, I get, we need safety, but now we have locked doors. So that contradicts. You know, people have a hard time coming into the building. We have to figure out that way to be inviting as well so people can come in and feel that they're welcomed in the schools as well.
Melina, we got 45 seconds left, but it's hard not to be optimistic, isn't it, when you see the quality of people coming into the school leadership?
It's terrific. You know, we really lost a lot of leaders through retirement over the last few years or making different career choices and moves because of how difficult it really is. Yeah. But we have got a great group in this cohort, and I'm thrilled by the quality of up-and-coming education leaders that we have.
Yeah. Thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate it. We're going to come back and wrap up For the Record right after this. My thanks to Melina and Lori and Michael, and my thanks to you for joining us. We'll see you next Sunday on For the Record.